This is the history and future for MCA prep sessions and our MCA scoring that Byron has had in the past. This is meant to help us see where we've come from and to also help us see where we would like to go through a couple of different methods, and also to inform us of how all areas are going. First of all, the MCA2 testing can be looked at in many ways, but what we would like to look at it as is an opportunity. It's the one test that allows us to compare with everyone else in the state. Yes, we know that each class is different, each test is different, and all students are different when you compare one school to the next. But it does give us some insight as to how we're doing. If we do well, it allows people to compare schools, and then we might just get people to come to our district because of good scores. It reflects the curriculum in which we're learning to assess if it's a good curriculum or not. It also is a way to compete in a non-athletic environment. So every student has the ability to have impact. And with high enough scores, you will be allowed to graduate. Now, at this point, they are not required for graduation, a passing score that is, but it will eventually be that way. So our goal is to try and get as good as we can, even now when it's not required for graduation. So how will you and your class perform? These are overall scores for reading. I'm going to focus on math because this is our math site. If you look in the past, we have Byron was in 06-07, third in the conference with 44% proficiency, which means 44% of the junior class were proficient, scored enough, and if it was required for graduation, that's how many would have been allowed to graduate if they had not then passed it by their spring of their senior year. In 07-08, we dropped down to 5th place, even though we improved our score. In 08 and 09, we got 1st place with a score of 59% proficiency, and then this last spring we had a score of 65, which was 1st place again. That score put us in the top 10%, actually in the top 1% of the state, a very good score. In 08-09, that score of 59.81 got us in the top 10%, so we're moving in the right direction and continually trying to improve, and that's a testament to the curriculum, but more so to the students that cared and that they did the best they could, and that helped our district and themselves. Historically, if you look at it this way, as Byron has improved, so has the state, but we have improved more dramatically. What this does is allows us to compare each year, but also allows us to compare the same kids. So for example, last year was the first year where we could compare how those kids did in their 8th grade MCAs. So the 8th grade in 2007, or last year's juniors, this year's seniors, were in the 96.9th percentile as 8th graders, which means they scored better than almost 97% of the rest of the state as 8th graders when they were in 8th grade. Did very well. And then by the time they were juniors, they were better than 97.2% of the rest of the juniors in the state. So they were good in 8th grade, but they improved still. And by the 11th grade year, they were again in the top 1% of the state. So what this graph allows us to do is say, let's look at this year's juniors, and as 8th graders, they were 93rd percentile. And by now, where are they? This is their opportunity to show if they've improved, to improve that score. Again, 93 is very good. And our question is, how can we do better than that even as juniors? So it's a good marker to see how well we can do, to see where we were, and to see where we could go. We want to improve that score of 93%. But last year's juniors were at 97.2% when they were juniors. So can we jump it that much? Who knows? It's a tough one, but again, just to give you an idea of what's possible and how you compare with other kids in the school when they took it. So that question mark is for this year's juniors. What can we do with this opportunity to show last year's juniors or this year's seniors how we compare? And the rest is science and writing. And that's the end of the show. Hopefully this gives you some insight and gives you an idea of where we've been. And remember, the MCA 2 test is an opportunity that hopefully we can all take advantage of and again prove our excellence in the HPL and in the state.